Hello, everyone. This is Steve from A Better Life. This podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, Premium Botanical. They are the makers of Herbal Spectrum, which is a full-spectrum hemp-based CBD. They make salves, liquids, and they have a great mixed berry gummy. You can check them out at www.mypbcbd.com. Now our podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 11. I know it's been a little bit since we all were back here, longer than usual. Right, George?
That's right. Welcome back, guys.
We received notice from the podcast company who does all the interactions with all the carriers, the Apple, the Spotify, that we are in the top 50% of all the podcasts.
That's progress. Tremendous. Guys like us, come on.
I'm as shocked as you are. I think we actually have listeners, and I think a lot of people don't, or they don't know how to get them or whatever. We've acquired some people listen to us more and more, and I still have been in contact by people and new listeners, never heard us before. I ran into one episode.
The data, the analytics that you get from a click of a button, what is it? We've reached 11 countries?
11 countries.
And how many cities?
147.
That's mind-boggling to me.
147. There were some countries I had to look up. I never heard of them. I can't pronounce them. They're like the alphabet. I don't know where they're from. They must be someplace in Asia. I don't know where they are. I looked through Africa. I never heard of them.
Let's keep the momentum going.
So we thank all of you for all your support. I hope you'll stay with us in the new year. We're looking to grow the audience, of course. It's been good so far. We can't complain.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for the feedback, and really helps us navigate with topics and different things that we like to brush up on.
So some of my feedback, I hear a lot of that they like us going back and forth, which we do all day long when we're smoking a cigar or having dinner together anyway. They like us explaining things, that we talk about things we made and how they're made and things like that. So that's
a quick tutorial always goes a long way.
Goes a long way.
Anytime I listen to podcasts or YouTube pages and things like that, I always realize, there's something to learn, to acquire, and increase your own repertoire.
Something to look up, because there's so many times I hear somebody talk about something and I have no idea. No idea. I think I listened to the first podcast again. And I don't think I mentioned this last time, but I listened to the first podcast again, and I'm not sure I ever listened to it other than the time I edited it. And only because the first podcast has more downloads than any other one. And I have people tell me that the first one was their favorite. And we had no idea what we were going to talk about. I coaxed George into sitting down and basically pushed the record button and let it rip.
Right out of the gate. I think we were just enamored by this whole technology. First of all, let's take a few steps back. I sit down at the desk/recording studio, and there is this amazing Rodecaster Pro audio mixer in front of me. There's a transformer. There's about 47 wires going back and forth. We have these amazing headphones, and these beautiful pod mics.
All made by Rode, by the way. The mics, and not that I'm doing a commercial, but the mics are the pod mic from Rode, and Rode makes the Rodecaster. They make some of the great equipment at a good price out there.
Right. It's within reach. Although you do, Steve, with items like telescopes and phonographs and guitars.
It's funny you say that about phonographs. The most shocking thing of the first episode that I realized is when we were speaking is that I told you were like bringing up the phonographs, and I had 4. So that was in October.
Right.
Now I have 12, and 13 is already purchased and on its way. And I'm negotiating for 2 more because we're doing a trade. It's funny.
I got to say, they are pretty cool. The connection you have with these pieces of machinery, it was high tech 100 years ago, right? And look at us now.
Unbelievable that they work. I just picked up, and it's people that it was their grandfathers or their great-grandfathers, and they loved this phonograph. And they wanted to have a good home. It's like a dog. They wanted to have a good home.
Or like a violin.
And
or like a piano,
I took a picture,
right?
so I got one yesterday, and I got it at a good price. I can't complain. And I drove out to get it because it was such a good price. And it's in a great shape. And I don't have to really do anything to it. Maybe polish it. It maybe needs a little polishing. And the brake probably needs to be adjusted a little bit. But beyond that, it's a Edison Standard. It's type A, so it's one of the first ones he made. And also it was made in April of 1902. So you think about that. Think about how long ago that was.
1902.
And I took a video and I sent it to him, and he texted me back and says, "I'm glad it has a good home." I'm like, "You think it was a living thing?" And somebody asked me, actually Bonnie asked me why I collect them, and I said, I'm trying to preserve something. It's the music. The cylinders are very delicate. The 78s, I have almost 500 of them now. And everything from 1910. So I'm playing this song and I'm texting it to people, and they're like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I have to look it up." But the song was recorded in 1902. And you sit and listen to it, and it just almost brings you back. And you wonder that if they had any belief that 120 years later, some old fat guy be in his living room cranking the thing, listening to it.
And putting a smile on your face.
And putting a smile on my face.
It's pretty wild. You think 100 years ago. So in our imaging, everything's black and white, right? That's the era in which we see 1902. And to see this piece of machinery in front of me in full color, right? And to know that, okay, so this was the workmanship, the detail and the carvings of the wooden box, the platform, and then all of these mechanical pieces that were either bent or molded or forged into these shapes, and then able to produce sound. Crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. But I find I'm fascinated with the Edison ones. Maybe because I'm fascinated with Edison, but I'm fascinated with the Edison ones. I have the Victrola ones as well. They date back to the same kind of era. Everything's made in New Jersey. One in Camden, one in Orange. Edison.
You've always been somewhat of an audiophile, right?
I have.
Yeah, you've frequented a lot of concerts. You're into guitars. You're into. Were you ever in hi-fi with amps and
ridiculously Rosewood, Clips corner speakers? I used to go where I grew up in New Jersey. There was Franklin Lakes Audio, and it was this little hi-fi place that had very expensive stuff. When people were buying things for $20, you could buy it there for $20,000. It was very expensive, high-end stuff. And as a kid, I used to go in there and listen. I used to go in there and watch and oogle. Obviously, the difference between that to an acoustic recording from 1902 is probably vast. But But
this was before the digital age, so everything was the vacuum tubes, right? The amps were powered by
absolutely all vacuum tubes, and there's still people holding on to that.
Yes,
there are people that collect that stuff.
The purists seem to absolutely believe in analog still, and it must be that much richer.
People listen to albums, right? Mm-hmm. People are buying albums all over again. There's such a surge.
Right.
I had a pretty large collection that I gave away, but I have about 140, 150 cylinders that I haven't even listened all to yet. I'm trying to document them the best I can and figure out a way of preserving them, because when you drop them, which I just did the other day, they shatter into 1,000 pieces. There's no, it was in the box.
Right.
It literally was powder when I opened up the box, and it's gone forever. There's one less of those in the world, and who knows how many there are.
That's right.
So there's going to come a point in time, I believe, that there's going to be phonographs with no cylinders.
Oh, boy.
So there's some museums out there preserving the stuff, and I don't want to get off on this talk the whole time about phonographs, but I'm trying to build my own little museum, and it's a music heritage of a time period. Listen, nothing's more American in the world than jazz.
Okay.
It's totally created in America. To me, the two most American things in the world are jazz and barbecue. And barbecue has two heritages, and you can argue which one they come as far as I'm concerned. They come from the cowboys from Texas. They used to, before there was refrigeration, they used to bring the cows into Chicago by live. They were before they were shipped in cars, they walked them. So at night, they would take one of the cows and they would slaughter it and barbecue it and feed it to everyone that worked. They didn't have any way to refrigerate food to bring it. It had to be live and then cooked. The other is that a tradition from African Americans, and originally how slaves were fed in the 1800s, is they would get a live pig if they were lucky, and that pig would be slaughtered, and then they would cook it, and they would cook a whole hog. That's where that tradition comes from. It's from those ancient times, and today it's a whole different world how we look at barbecue.
Fascinating.
Well,
you learn so much about people's foods.
It's interesting because we were coming into the holiday, and I was invited to my friend's house for Christmas Eve, and I know we want to talk about it, but I'll start with Christmas Eve. I went to my friend's who does the 7 fishes. Now, when I was a kid, my mother did the 7 fishes, which meant that we ate shrimp and manigotti and lasagna and things like that. So there really wasn't much fish. My friend Anthony actually did the 7 fishes. So we had fried flounder, had smelt, had shrimp, had scallops, had
Is this a
clams.
7, or is it just make up your 7?
It's make up your 7.
Okay, but you need 7 dishes representing something about
7 fishes.
Okay.
I think I don't know what it symbolizes, to be honest. I think it symbolizes fishermen. When you're talking about the birth of Christ, you think about Christ, you think about that he hung around with fishermen, and those fishermen ate what you caught, bread and fish.
Fair enough.
I believe that's the relationship they're making there. I'm not really all that sure.
We'll have to fact check this.
Well, we'll work on that for the next episode.
All right. The holidays, everyone complains about overeating, stuffing their face. And then come January 1st, the gym membership bonanza happens. And those who go to the gym regularly, they avoid, or they just, what's the word? The anxiety level of January 1st is so high because it's like 5x of the norm. They're just completely flooded for the first 2 weeks. And no gym in North America is safe.
By Valentine's Day, they're all gone now.
Yeah, that's true. But that's a month and a half of a lot of mayhem.
I know.
The gym, okay, maybe this is a topic we can also talk about. The gym, the American gym experience. Muscleheads, you got fitness freaks, you have a lot of yoga enthusiasts. Some gyms have pools, so there's the swimmers. My gym that I go to has tennis courts and now pickleball courts. So we play a lot of racquetball or racket sports there. But it is a very interesting ecosystem under that big roof.
I agree. It really is. I'm always amazed. And it's funny because I go in and a few of my friends are very muscular, to say the least. Just big Italians. And they're out there, they lift tons of weights and they have all these muscles on their legs. And there's me, right? I'm barely standing up. I walk on the treadmill. My trainer takes me around. I can't even use a weight on the machines. And these big gorillas are coming over. He says, everybody you know that big? I said, no, there are a few others. But it's definitely a cross-section of the world.
I would love to take a snapshot of the gym culture in the United States every 10 years, going back.
So it's almost symbolizing high school in a way, right? So you have one group, you have the muscleheads, right? And then you have the people that want to be muscleheads that are pounding and slamming the weights. And then there are other groups. They're the people that have no idea where they are and are wandering around in their little outfits.
But they know that they need to be there.
They know that they need to be there. And then there are the girls that look at themselves in the mirror. And there's guys that look at themselves in the mirror, too, in today's world. But there are girls that come in these tiny little outfits, and they wander around so everybody sees them, and then they go on the Stairmaster. It's like high school.
Do I dare say it's almost inappropriate, the gym attire today?
It's
how do you
definitely gets your attention.
You can't focus.
Yeah, I think that's why they moved, and George and I both, though him and I have never run into each other at the gym, we both go to the same gym. I think they moved the Stairmasters in back of the treadmills for just those reasons.
Right.
They used to be in front, and the girls used to go on there, and there clearly could be bikini models, these girls. And they all come in, and their hair's all blown out. You know what I mean? And they're every step they take is deliberate, just like high school.
Yeah, you're right. It isn't a quick snapshot of high school.
At least my high school was.
It's been good to me. I spend way too money on gym memberships, but it is a way to help my cardio and my muscle mass, and it's led me to look at calorie counting and making sure I get fiber, protein, X amount of carbs. And it's really, I'm shocked when I do a little self-reflection. It's like, wait, am I actually counting how many steps I took today? How many calories I took in today? How many calories I burned off today? This is so not me 5 years ago.
Yeah, those are mostly guides. Do I really believe that when you see those things, how many calories you burned? I don't really believe them, but it's certainly a gauge. It's funny. Samantha bought herself a Peloton bike for her apartment, and she's totally into riding. She had a treadmill, and she got sick of it, and now she moved on to this Peloton
So many
bike.
people, so many of my friends have Pelotons, and they love it. And
they love
that community and the classes you're able to log into and all that.
She has no idea about that yet, or whatever. But she got the shoes that fit into the thing.
They clip in.
Yeah, I have to go there and put them together. But really, she's so excited about it, so looking forward to it, and good for her. It's good.
Awesome.
It's good for you. She doesn't want to go to the gym. She doesn't want to spend that money. I don't blame her. She's very thrifty. That's why she's attracted to me, because I'm equally as thrifty. But
opposites attract.
Opposites attract. But it's funny. It's funny. We've been talking about having her on because she's from the Caribbean, from St. Lucia. So we want to talk about Caribbean cooking. When she talks about things she made, she mentioned to me a fruit yesterday. I couldn't even pronounce it, lest I've ever eaten
Tropical fruit, huh?
Some kind of fruit. I don't know.
Yeah. The world is so mysterious. All these different climate zones, different foods, basically different humans, right? We all grow into different shapes and sizes because of our surroundings.
Yeah, it must have been nice in St. Lucia to go to the beach every day. You can walk to the beach from your house every day.
Now, is that Caribbean food? That's not Creole, is it?
No, she speaks Creole. Regular Creole and French Creole, I guess they're different.
Okay.
She speaks that. She speaks French.
The days of colonialism.
Yeah, and English, obviously. And then something else, too, but I can't remember what it is. But
yeah, that'd be interesting to hear a little bit about Caribbean food. The various different islands, clearly, right? It's a hodgepodge in my mind, but clearly not in the lives of the locals.
Well, it's so alien to you and I, but we're not even going to understand. She made me pumpkin soup the other night.
With Caribbean accents.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't like you would think of pumpkin soup, like a cream of something other. Right. It was chicken soup with pumpkin in it, pretty much. But it had all these different flavors and these seasonings that I had to ask her about, of seasonings that I wasn't familiar with.
Mm-hmm. And this was something that she would normally have.
Correct. She cooks with some things all the time. One of them, which is coconut, and I hate coconut. Which is coconut milk, coconut water, coconut shavings. She bakes. She baked cakes. with shavings on it all for everyone she works with.
A coconut cake is pretty awesome, Steve.
I hate coconut. What can I tell you? When I was a kid, I don't know why. You know what? I think it goes back to this. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but it goes back to this. When I was a kid, everybody was going on vacations through an island, and they would bring back a coconut. Who went to Hawaii, who went to Florida, who went whatever. You know where I went? Nowhere. I went to Howe Caverns if I was lucky for one day.
That'll do it.
So we went, and everybody's got a coconut. So I hated coconut, and I think that's why I hate it today.
All right. Fair enough. We somehow peeled off some layers there and got down to the real.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. What did you do at Christmas?
A buddy of mine invited me over to a small family gathering, and it was really nice. They're Italian, and I've never been to an Italian Christmas dinner. I wouldn't say everything was Italian, but fair enough. It's an Italian family, Italian dinner. He made meatballs, sausage, and red sauce, some pasta, beautiful salads. His father brought some beans, baked beans. No, not baked beans. What are they called? Casserole beans. And some artichoke, some broccoli.
His father or his father-in-law?
His father. Yeah, I think the in-laws were still down in Florida. But anyways, it was really nice to just sit down and relax. A little chilly outside, but we were all friends from the cigar lounge, so we had to go out and smoke some Davidoffs.
You went to the lounge?
No, I was outside in the patio. So, yeah, nice, relaxing Christmas dinner.
Yeah, well, I made prime rib. We actually ate it for dinner tonight. George made I had leftover prime rib. He made sandwiches with horseradish. It was really good, but he made killer, and I wish you'd tell these guys how you made your clam chowder.
So I've been obsessed over New England clam chowder for about 2 decades. I can remember the day I first had Boston's Legal Seafood New England clam chowder for the first time. And that tasted nothing like the clam chowder I had in the high school commons during lunch hour. That was a eureka epiphany moment. And I always choose New England clam chowder anytime I see it on the menu ever since then. I wanted to somehow figure out the secrets, the ins and outs, what made it so appealing to me. I like the viscosity. I like having a little bit of starchy texture, not just the cream. I like the flavors and the aromas that you get from fresh seafood. Trying making this soups over and over again. The secret really is fresh clams. If you can find a purveyor, a grocery store that has in their seafood display some freshly shucked clams and just chopped up, that's when you know, tonight's going to be New England clam chowder. A bunch of that, mirepoix, carrots, onions, celery, a nice russet potato. Some people swear that they need bacon, but I think if you have just really nice clams, just let them shine. If you have canned, then maybe you need that little oomph, right? That and a little push. But today's clams were wonderful, and I was able to get a pound of freshly shucked clams. That was a home run. Clam juice and heavy cream. And basically, you saute the mirepoix first. You dice up the potatoes, throw them straight in. I then sauteed it in olive oil and a little bit of butter. The extra fat, don't freak out about it because you will then throw in some flour and you're kind of making this instant roux along with your sauteed vegetables. And then you hit it with the clam juice, deglaze the bottom of the cast iron Dutch oven, and you'll have basically enough liquid there to cover the veggies, but now it's this really light roux that you've created. It's, you know that it's going to give you some body. And then you throw in the clams. If you're adventurous, you want to throw some oysters or some chopped shrimp, go have at it. And then you hit it with the cream, simmer for maybe 10 minutes, and it's done. This is going to be a weekly staple for me now. I think I cracked the code. I was very happy with today's outcome. And yeah, like you said, I could eat 2-3 bowls of that easy.
I don't even like New England clam chowder. I thought it was amazing. I ate the whole thing, practically licked the bowl. It's funny because I'm really a Manhattan clam chowder guy, and I used to
So what's the difference between a Manhattan clam chowder and like an Italian cioppino from San Francisco? Like a fisherman's stew that's in red broth, tomato broth.
I think...
Is it similar or...
It is similar.
You know what I'm talking about? Cioppino?
Yeah, I know. But Manhattan clam chowder is usually there's just clams and chunks of cod.
Okay, whereas cioppino might have lobster or depending on... Okay, I gotcha.
There used to be a place I started telling George about it before in Southampton called Silver's. It was only open for lunch. It would open like 11, closed at 3 every day. And I think it was closed like on Wednesdays or maybe some other day. And they had a bowl of clam chowder there. I think it was $28.
Whenever I hear the word Hampton, whether it has a prefix of south, east, north, whatever, it's pretty bougie, right? Hamptons, yep. All of Hamptons is bougie.
All the bougie people would be waiting online to get in this place.
Wow.
They never rushed to. You went in, there were only a few tables, and it was an old pharmacy. And they still had soda fountain. They still had the bar. People could sit at the bar, and they had some tables. In the summer, when it was warm, they had a couple tables outside. And the guy that owned it, I think his mother owned it before him. He made everything fresh. The best BLT I ever had in my life.
Really?
And I know there's a lot of places people swear by the BLT. One is Black Dog in the Village. Everyone says it's great. It is good. It's not like Silver's was.
You also have the ambiance. You can't beat that Southampton summer beach vibe.
They had a burger with Gruyere. I was out of this world. They love to serve it raw, and I always used to make them cook it medium, and it used to drive them insane. But I didn't care because I was a pastis once. I got food poisoning from a rare hamburger, and which isn't there anymore either.
It's back.
Is it back?
Pastis is back.
Can't be as good as it was.
I haven't been, but I remember before closing, I made it sure to go as many times as possible. One of my all-time favorite New York restaurant experiences.
The hamburgers were always raw, and they were insulted if you asked them to cook it more, and the eggs were always runny. And they got insulted if you told them to cook it more. It was a strange place.
To this day, I think still the best chocolate mousse I've ever had was from Pastis.
I never had it. After the food poisoning experiment.
Well, it changes everything. Yeah. It also helps out sitting next to Julianne Moore.
Yeah, that'll do it for me.
Holy moly.
She is beautiful.
What an attractive lady.
They were at the next table?
It's right next to me. I think that chocolate mousse went down a lot easier.
What did she have? Did you notice?
Oh, no, I just stared at her face.
You usually notice all that stuff.
No, Pastis, though. In all honesty, what a great restaurant from yesteryear. I remember, do you remember a place called Chanterelle?
Yes.
That has to be one of the greatest restaurants I've ever been to. And the guy, Chef David Waltnook,
I don't know.
He self-trained. Never went to culinary school. Didn't really do much in terms of, maybe it's just the PR side. And they never really pushed what restaurants he staged or worked at. But the type of dishes that they would put out, daily specials, were incredible. And the funny thing is, on New Year's, his New Year's menu, he would have a private, I was never invited, but this is just hearsay, and he would cook a Chinese feast. Like, how obscure is that? This French chef on New Year's cooks a Chinese feast in his apartment for his friends and family.
It's interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. I miss a lot of these smaller chef proprietor restaurants. It's getting harder and harder to operate a restaurant without major financial backing from whether billionaires or restaurant groups. And then you're tied to so many, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Not to change the subject, but I just want to bring up pizza one more time.
I hate myself even more for liking pizza so much these days. It really irks me, but I can't get enough of really good pizza. And don't get me wrong, when I have average pizza, I'm like, oh, this is wasted calories. I do not need to ingest this. But when you have, again, Hartsdale House of Pizza.
The story goes, I had hurt my hip and I needed some help lifting stuff. George is going to meet me at my house. He says, meet me at Hartsdale House of Pizza. And he basically texts me pictures of slices he's sitting down that are waiting for me. I leave work and I go over there whenever. He's eating this pizza and he can describe to you what's in it because I still don't know. But it was like a tap dance in my mouth. It was a Detroit-style pizza.
Right. So Detroit-style, I guess, is more... It's not like a Sicilian. It's probably more like on a focaccia. And they threw on... What was it? It was sausage, crumbled sausage, pepperoni, and mascarpone cheese on top of maybe a little bit of pink sauce, like vodka sauce. This fluffy, pillowy focaccia, if you can imagine, is then smothered with delicious fennel sausage, spicy pepperoni, and then spooned with dollops of mascarpone cheese.
So I'm going to say it again. Everybody needs to go to Hartsdale House of Pizza. And when you go in there, make sure you tell them that you heard about it, A Better Life with George and Steve.
That's right. Podcast Better Life with George and Steve, because this is where legends are made.
Absolutely. And the funniest part about it is, so I'm on Facebook, Westchester Pizza Lovers or something like that. Everybody's talking about all these pizza places. Nobody brings up Westchester. Nobody brings up Hartsdale House of Pizza. All right. So I put our podcast out there. Next thing I'm seeing everybody reviewing Hartsdale House of Pizza. All of a sudden, everybody's saying how great the pizza is. And I appreciate the response, but please give us a little bit of credit of
love, guys.
Of waking up Westchester to Hartsdale House of Pizza.
We started with that Detroit style. I think the Detroit style pizza is baked in a rectangular, I guess they call them pans, right?
Yeah, it's like a cookie sheet.
But it's high walled. On the side, they call it frico. And they just throw in copious amounts of cheese and it basically fries up and crisps up. And so now you have this wall of cheese on the perimeter of the whole pie, the rectangle pie. And that's what makes it a Detroit style. We then went and had a standard New York style, New York slice, pepperoni, but the thing today is cupping. You want to see the pepperoni cupping, and they drizzled with a little bit of Mike's hot honey. That was interesting. And then finally we did a grandma slice, sorry. We did a grandma slice, and that was also marvelous. You can't miss. Everything they put out there is made with purpose, a lot of thought, and a lot of love. And you can tell the guys behind the counter, when they're taking your order, when they're slicing it, when they're plating it, when they're throwing it in the oven, they know that you're about to awaken your palate and get rocked with some delicious pizza.
So the day after we were there, I went and got an Italian Hero from there. It was really good. I needed to eat something I hadn't eaten all day, but it was really good.
Nice.
I love that place. It's funny because I saw something on YouTube today, and it was, I forget the guy's name, Joshua, something like that. If you follow food recipes, he's pretty good. He's pretty well known. Matter of fact, while I was doing the food reviews in New York, people kept interrupting him and saying hello and things. But he went the number one place he picked. And what do you remember the name?
For pizza?
Mm-hmm. Scars.
SCAR''S.
It looked good. We're going to need to go. We need to go out for some pizza.
Right. But everyone who's worth anything in the world of food who's been to Scars, they just immediately proclaim them the champions of the world.
Yeah, they said they mill their own flour, so it's perfect to their specifications. Mm-hmm. Listen, if you mill your own flour, even when you're baking bread, especially when you're baking bread, you're going to get a high-quality product. It's going to be fresher. It's going to be milled. It's not milled.
You understand what you're working with.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, so, flour's a funny thing, man. Flour.
Humidity and flour. That's what's funny.
Where the wheat's from, like when I was in the noodle business, we were adamant about getting North American wheat flour for noodles. as opposed to flour, like North America meaning Canada, as opposed to in the United States or even parts of Africa or elsewhere. But different flour from different parts of the world yields different results for different ingredients.
Absolutely. So what's funny, yeast too, different yeast. Yeast is a big deal. So what's funny is one of our former guests, Nicole, who became obsessed with sourdough after she saw us do it. She told me her starter kept dying. So she'd tell me what it looked like. I'm like, throw it out, start again. So she decided to bake bread with yeast. And out of the clear blue sky, she decided to make baguettes, French baguettes. Everyone that was there called me and said, Nicole made these baguettes, they're amazing. People were taking bread home the next day. They looked amazing. She sent me pictures. She made these amazing baguettes. Meanwhile, she's saying, oh, I can't break bread. I couldn't get the sourdough. I couldn't. And she's making baguettes, which are incredibly difficult. Not as much as the dough is to keeping the shape together when you're baking them.
Making baguettes, because I guess of the repetition, of the quantity, the daily quantity, the boulangeries need to pump out. And with the price cap that they're only able to work with, it is probably the most challenging bread discipline that I can think of.
Yeah, she sent me pictures. I don't know where they are. I wanted to show you. Amazing job, Nicole. Nice job. Baguettes are really hard. I don't know if she had the pan or she used the fabric like old school to put them in the oven and to make them rise proof.
Just the New York City baguette conversation is really something.
Did you ever have them from Panera?
No.
Panera makes great baguettes.
Stop. Really?
Great. They bake them fresh every day.
Panera.
The
global chain Panera.
The global chain. Go in there one day and buy a baguette. Ask them when they're coming out of the oven.
Oh, boy.
I'm telling you, I used to buy them for my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law. She loved them. Thin. I want them thin, she used to say, and not too dark. I don't want them burnt, even though I like them burnt.
Yeah.
But they were good.
I wish there was a bread baker, a boulangerie up here in Westchester that did it right. But
it's funny. There's one that goes all to the. I know it's here in
Portchester,
the farmers market here.
Oh, there's something Mead, right? There's like a
the one in Portchester is amazing.
That's what I hear.
The bread is amazing.
Okay. Maybe there is hope. Maybe there's
amazing different kinds of bread there.
Yeah.
It used to be across the street from Lydia's son.
Bastianich.
Lydia's.
Terrytown?
Yeah, he had a restaurant there called Terrytown something. No parking.
Yeah.
Not a great menu. But he had a liquor store too where they sold their wine.
Legendary wine drinkers, him and Mario, like easily.
Mario killed that, and then Mario is trying to make his way back. I heard. That's a rough road, and she has a new show. It's old school where she goes through everything again.
Yeah, I hope it's not just recycled material. But I gotta say, like back in the day when the Food Network first came out and days of the original Japanese Iron Chef dubbed in English, and then you have Emerald with his Bam and his just craziness. But those guys, and also Mario with Molto Mario and his educational Italian TV show.
Jacques
Pepin. That's even older. That's with Julia Child, great chefs of that PBS series, I think. That is tops.
He turned 88. Today.
Good for him.
I think it was today or yesterday I saw it. 88.
He's beyond. He's like Yoda in the world of gastronomy.
I met him once. I told you I met him once.
Good guy. Humble.
With my mom. He was nice to him.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. And then now we have just celebrity chefs here and there.
Oh, no, they get Susan's Farm Girl cooking. Where, meanwhile, it's just like a joke. And then they'll recycle Gianna for 100 times. They'll put her in another country. And
she's very recycled. It's terrible.
She made enough money. She can go
She made so much money. She doesn't care. But
And Bobby Flay takes on somebody else.
Takes on the world.
Some of those were pretty good in the beginning, but it just got overdone.
The Food Network, they know what drives viewership. And I hear he is actually a very, very good guy. Just his riff with Morimoto and Iron Chef and all that made for good television. But all in all, everyone says that he's very polite, remembers everyone's names, and he's always on time. He's not a MIA type of guy and takes his job seriously, which everyone should, but not everyone does.
You can't be a chef and not take it serious. It's impossible. You should not. Cooking is a religion.
Yeah.
You really need to.
And people rely on you.
I don't care if you're making sandwiches. I don't care what you're doing. There is a certain, I don't care if you're making burgers. There's a certain thing about it. And if you put the care and love into it,
right,
that it'll come out in the product.
Yeah. Remember that scene in Chef, Jean Favreau and his son? His son's like, who cares? They're just going to eat it or whatever. And he's like, no. And then he has that moment outside the cart, the food truck. And he tells his son about the spirit and the meaning of why he's a chef and why he loves it so much. And he can make a change in someone's day. And that's some good stuff.
That's what I always think about barbecue. And it all comes back to barbecue with me. But you could tell in a minute. When a place mass produces something, you could tell in a minute. The big machines, the automatic, you really just...
It comes down to even the last step before you're even plating on someone's plate. How the chef is cutting it. Are they just chopping it up and hacking it? Or are they really taking the time to figure out the angle of the grain and how they want to slice it so that your final experience when you're tasting that bite of barbecue that they've slaved over all day, that you're getting the maximum enjoyment?
Wes's Ribs in Providence, Rhode Island. I'll never forget it.
Really?
Used to go, yeah. I think the name's still there, but the place isn't. It was like in a commercial area, and it was the first time I had killer ribs in my life. So you walk up the stairs. It's like in a commercial area with warehouses, and they're open at 4 o'clock in the morning. And you walk up the stairs, and all of a sudden you see a glass room, all glass, with this huge open fire with all these ribs on it. And it's mesmerizing.
Pitmasters.
And you sit down and eat and you're angry because
you can't eat anymore.
You're full. I used to drive because my friend moved to Providence from when I grew up in New Jersey, and he still lives in Rhode Island. And we used to go up there, and I like throw everybody in the car. Come on, we're going for ribs, and we'd drive up there 4.5 hours or whatever it is, and just go to Wes's.
Wow, that's a commitment.
I'd call him in the car. We're on our way up. We're going to go have ribs. Make sure you're home when I get to your house. Wow.
And just the ribs.
Just the ribs.
Any cornbread?
The cornbread was great.
Collards, maybe?
Collards, French fries were good.
Oh. What other meats?
They had lots of other meats, but...
Doesn't matter.
The ribs were amazing.
Were these like a St. Louis rack?
St. Louis ribs. Okay.
Yum.
They were good. And they did the right way. They trimmed the top, not like I do when I cook them. I never trim the top. I need to start doing that. I know I have to get my smoker rocking again. I think in the spring we're gonna start doing some rib dinners. Of course, my girlfriend doesn't eat pork, which is certainly a problem for the guy that makes the best ribs and pork bellies. And
how ironic!
It is ironic. I guess we'll have to do more of those short ribs, which came out really good last.
Yeah.
But we're reached the end of the year, and we're real thankful for our podcast. We're thankful for our listeners. We're thankful that we have some direction on what we're doing here. We hope to expand things in the future. I know that we talk about certainly a few guests, and I already mentioned Nicole and Franco that we want to bring back on a more regular basis. Certainly Franco. We spoke to him about it. He was interested. We sometimes don't know what our schedule is. We record all different days and nights. We try to do it every Wednesday, and we don't seem to do it. Sometimes we record a couple in a couple of days.
Right.
And then release them. But
granted, this was also a very busy part of the season, part of the year.
True.
not to make any excuses, but for me, this was also a personal journey, and not knowing what I'm coming into, talking about just thoughts and riffing back and forth. It's been really eye-opening and therapeutic in a way. And
I agree.
I'm so grateful that there are people out there taking the time to either use this as background audio and just doing daily chores here and there. Driving, commuting, morning or in the evening back home. But it's really nice to know that we share the day with you. And again, more of your feedback, any input, and any topics that you like to hear from us, very much appreciated.
You can find us on Facebook. Please make sure you can find us on Instagram. Please make sure on whatever you listen to, Spotify, Apple, or the other dozen or so. I was showing George a dozen or so services we're on that you like and subscribe. And if you enjoy yourself, please put a review. I met someone yesterday who told me, "Oh, did you read my review?" And I was like, "No, because I don't even look at the reviews, but I'm going to go in there."
Now we do.
Now we do. So I'm going to go there. I didn't think anybody was reviewing anything, to be honest.
Now you have that notification set, so we'll get everyone's.
I do have the notification set. It's funny because there comes a point where you realize that it's organic, right? That I don't know this many people. So there's no way I know all the people that are listening to me.
And we don't know the technology well enough to punch it out on a scheduled launching date and whatnot. This organic journey has been pretty awesome.
Right. So when we come back after the new year, we're going to have a lot of new things, some surprises that are probably going to be surprises to us as well. But we're hoping that you're going to stay with us. And please, if there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about or would like us to do, please drop us a line. You could do it on Instagram. You could do it on Facebook. We'd love to have your comments. And you could do it on the pod services themselves. Right?
We wish you a happy New Year, a safe, happy New Year. And definitely hope you eat.
I definitely hope we eat well. Do you know what you're doing New Year's Eve? I don't know what I'm doing. No. I never do. I hate New Year's Eve.
I know I promised my kids I'm going to cook them a feast. So this is going to be, all day, the day before and the day of. We're going to really rock it out this year.
If you want them, I have ribs and pork bellies in my freezer. I'm more than welcome to give them to you because they've been in there for too long already. So anyway, that's not your problem out there. We look forward to seeing you in the new year. Have a happy and healthy and stay safe. And from George and Steve, have a good night.
Good night, guys.